Cichlids are the world's most abundant species of fish. Their amazing ability to adapt to various habitats makes them evolutionary marvels, and there are literally thousands of varieties. They're also one of the only fish species to actively take care of their young. The humble cichlid is found in freshwater lakes in Central and South America and Africa. But nowhere are there more species than here in Lake Malawi. At the foot of the Great Rift Valley lies Lake Malawi. It's Africa's third largest lake and has existed relatively undisturbed for thousands of years. It was declared a World Heritage Site in the 1970s due to its biological importance. And it's obvious that an astonishing underwater ecosystem has developed here. It's simply teeming with fish. A team of filmmakers is on their way here. After 2 days of trekking through southern Africa, they reach Vilanculos on the coast of Mozambique.
Yesterday was a really heavy day. Long hours on the road, and we're starting to feel a little bit tired. But it's just so beautiful, the outlook from here. Guys are getting their dhows ready to go fishing, and it's quite significant today because we leave the coastline for Lake Malawi, and this is the last time we'll see the Indian Ocean. So we're over halfway, so we've broken the back of the trip, but it's going well.
Picking their way through the Mozambican potholes and driving through dense bush, the crew finally cross the border and arrive in Cape Maclear at the southern end of the Great Lake. Lake Malawi is almost completely landlocked, and this huge body of water isn't fed by any major rivers. The cichlids have the entire lake to themselves. Because of this, they've had to compete with each other for all the available space and resources, and they've become experts at adapting to specific niche environments, whether it's the rocks, the weeds, or the sand. In fact, the cichlid fish species diversity is over 60 times greater than the famous Darwin's finches found in the Galapagos Islands, another World Heritage Site. But as the sun sets over the lake, discovering the secrets of the cichlids will have to wait until dawn. It's the first day out on Lake Malawi, and the crew steams along the Chembe waterfront on the southern part of the lake. On the water's edge, the locals go about their daily business as the boat's guide and skipper navigate towards Tumbi Island. This is where the team will get their first glimpse of Lake Malawi's underwater life.
You just have to bear with us while we work out where to go, what to find where, and then when we actually settle down to species, discovering more about how they work and why these fish in this lake have diversified so much. So it's a real journey of discovery.
Under the water, clouds of many, many different species of little fish await the team. The lake's underwater world is divided into various micro-environments, and Tumby Island represents the weed-free rocky zone. The fish tend to stay in defined territories that they've adapted to. The little yellow and blue cichlid swims around the top of a small boulder, this being its chosen niche. These small fish have colonized every square meter of habitat in this lake, some feeding on the sunny side of the rocks, some pecking, and some dredging sand. They appear in hundreds of different colors, some bright with iridescent yellow cheeks, some pale with purple spots, and some drab, safely blending into the background. Some fish are fiercely territorial, chasing others off their patch. Some are also big. This blue specimen is about 20 centimeters or almost 8 inches long. All these cichlids are related. This huge family tree has blossomed from small roots, so many cichlid traits are shared. Two major ones being the distinct spots on the anal fin and their tremendous concern for their young. Moving a little deeper, weed grows between the rocks. Here, a whole different set of fish emerge just meters from the sunlit rocky zone. Cichlids pick at weed lying on the floor. Inches away, an iridescent cousin lurks, perhaps guarding a nearby nest. At the foot of the rocky slide lies a denser weed bed, another major niche in the lake. Weed beds offer better cover for smaller fish and fry. Again, specially adapted fish working specific areas. Even deeper, there's another species that specializes in puffing sand to expose food items. A dropped anchor chain provides a new niche, and this microzone has been colonized by little yellow cichlids. They're adapting to living within the links.
Well, we're just busy trying to identify some of the fish that we saw this morning, and we have these little zebras, which are metrioclemas. So we consulted some of the fish books that we found here, and guess what? You've got lots and lots of different species. It just is another page. It's just hugely confusing because this metrioclema, which is a little blue stripy fish, diversifies depending on which bay or which little headland you're at. So if you swim around the corner, you get a different subspecies of this fish. And to make matters worse, the Tumby Island point where we dived was the site where fisheries released a whole lot of fish specimens that came from other parts of the lake, and those have diversified. So we're really going to have to simplify this identification process and just stick to family names.
The amazing, accelerated adaptation of the cichlids in Lake Malawi happened because the cichlids have largely had this entire environment to themselves. It's an incredible example of evolution and survival. In other parts of the world, things are a little different for cichlids, but that's a story for next time. Being one of the most abundant families of fish in the world, cichlids are found in freshwater lakes all over Africa, the Americas, and even some in Asia. There are an estimated 2,000 species of cichlids, with new ones being discovered every year. And they come in every shape, size and colour imaginable. Whichever continent they're from, scientists refer to the entire cichlid family as secondary freshwater fish, meaning that their ancestors most likely descended from marine fish from families like the wrasses, parrotfish and damselfish. The cichlids of Lake Malawi are the most prolific, but in other parts of the world they survive just as well in very different conditions. The nutrient-rich rivers of South America provide the perfect habitat for cichlids. The cichlids from this region are known as New World cichlids, and in any of the rivers they can be plentiful and reach impressive sizes. This is the velvet cichlid, or Oscar, and is often caught for aquariums. Cichlids in South America share their river habitats with bigger predators, like otters and caimans, whose diets comprise largely of fish. Back in Africa, but far away from Lake Malawi, the Okavango Delta in Botswana is another home to another species of cichlid. The river bream, who also have to share their home waters with neighbours like hippos, who change their environment radically and regularly. These channels are made by hippos. There are also crocodiles to deal with. The cichlids have adapted to this constantly changing environment. This one's fins are the same colour as the surrounding foliage. The river current also influences behaviour, and the fish spend a lot of time resting behind obstacles that shelter them from the constantly moving water, and the predators that are always lurking nearby. Incredibly, the Delta bream developed parallel to the Malawi cichlids, even though these two bodies of water have never been joined. Like their Malawi cousins, they're mouth brooders and share many of the same anatomical features, including egg spots. The Delta cichlids, however, are generally bigger, with the smaller fish niches being filled by minnows and tiger barbs. The tilapias do well here, and their flexibility has resulted in huge shoals that colonize the channels. Fortunately for the team here at Lake Malawi, there are no crocodiles in the particular part of the lake they're diving, and they're off to do some cave diving with cichlid species they've never seen before. All that in the next episode. A new day and a new dive site on Lake Malawi. A deep set of caves at a place called Otter Point. The massive boulders create an impressive waterscape with sheer walls and hidden nooks and crannies. The plan today is to find a deep, dark slot between these boulders and let the lake reveal its secrets in its own time. Looking in, it's clear there's an array of cichlid species in this environment. The mouth of the cave alone is home to many varieties. And as the team swims further inside, it becomes clear that there are yet more species, each occupying its own niche. Another of the cichlids' marvelous adaptations is color. The lake's waters are generally very clear, and the fish can see each other well. They wear their colors like naval flags, presenting clear signals to both friends and enemies. To maintain this in the darker, murkier caves, the colors of the fish get even more vivid to compensate for the lack of light. Some species here have chosen the roof of the caves as their home, and their lives are totally inverted. They exist upside down.
Crawling into these caves was a little intimidating. We were about 15 meters down, and the more we moved, the murkier the water got. I wedged myself into the back of this cave, and at various points I got a bit stuck, the scuba cylinder and camera lights getting caught on the rough rock. The best thing to do was to lie still, and after letting the water settle, I was rewarded with a little living jewel.
This is Orlonokara, one of the famous Malawi peacock cichlids. These cichlids live almost exclusively in caves and prefer shallow waters, rarely venturing more than 10 meters below the surface. It's a great reward to see this beautiful specimen. But cichlids are not only active during dawn and dusk. Under the cover of night, a host of other characters emerge. And that's all in the next episode. Diving in Lake Malawi at night is a completely different experience. The crew heads out towards Tumbe Island for a deep night dive to find some of the few non-cichlid predators that dominate the underwater system after dark. Catfish are out in force, swimming through the rocky grooves with the snoutfish. Moving through the ink-black water reveals a totally different scene to that of the daytime. The crew finds a protomelas. This fish is far more sluggish at night and gives them an opportunity for a closer look. The egg spots on the anal fin are common amongst male cichlids, and they're there to attract females during the mating process. A female who has taken up newly laid eggs in her mouth will track these male egg spots. As soon as she's close enough, he will fertilize the eggs inside her mouth. The depth doesn't afford the crew much dive time, and before long, it's time to navigate back to the dark surface. It's days later off Tumbe Island that the camera comes across a series of massive depressions in the sandy plateau. Huge symmetrical bowls have been excavated in the lake bed, some over 2 meters wide. These are nesting bowers. Constructed by the little cichlids, they are arenas for attracting mates.
Most of these were so big that we could literally fit into them, and we knew that fish had made them. We just couldn't see any around.
Just next door is an area of raised bowers. Instead of excavating, the fish have built these sandcastle-shaped bowers, with the flat tops forming a focal point for male courtship displays. One of the more visible species that builds bowers is the little mchenga. This fish is 10 centimeters long and frenetically constructs its bower in an attempt to attract a mate. This involves an ongoing excavation process, and the fish keeps depositing sand along the rim, building the site higher and higher. While all females are obviously welcomed, any competing males are energetically repelled. This frenetic behavior indicates that a female is nearby, and the male's tenacity level goes up a notch. She enters the bower, and the male gives an impressive fin wag, but it's all in vain, and she heads off to the next male in line. His annoyance is clear. There's nothing to do but start work again. Perhaps his bower wall needs to be higher. The team has been diving in Lake Malawi for a week now, but they've not seen any of the behavior that the cichlids are most famous for. It's all about mouth brooding in the next and final episode of this series. Cichlids are beautiful fish that come in many colors and sizes. They can adapt quickly and expertly to a variety of microhabitats, and as a family, they are highly successful. One of the reasons for this success is that cichlids take care of their young. This behavior is highly unusual amongst fish, and it's absolutely fascinating. It's a week into the expedition, and the crew is actively searching for evidence of fish taking care of their young. In this case, a behavior called mouth brooding. Finding the right area is one thing, but being prepared to wait for a mouth brooder is another story. At the foot of the drop-off at Tumby Island, the fallen boulders provide the right habitat for Serenochromys mothers. This particular fish is alone, with no brood following her. Staying with her for a while reveals that she's already thought about her batch of young, and they're safe inside her mouth. Further along the drop-off, a shoal of fry is left to fend for itself. The little fish swim aimlessly, and bigger cichlids begin to follow. As the opportunistic bigger fish close in, the fry try to escape. Even algae eaters will turn predatory if given the chance. A neighbouring mother is far more diligent. She doesn't leave her brood for more than seconds at a time and constantly chases other fish out of the area. She tends closely to her fry, and they mass around her mouth. When the threat becomes too great, the mother cichlid opens her mouth and allows the brood inside. It's obvious that this childcare strategy works well for this species. Although cichlids lay relatively fewer eggs than other species of fish, the energy they invest in caring for their young definitely pays off, giving them a much greater chance of surviving to adulthood. The empire of the cichlid embraces 3 continents, and this behavior is seen in cichlid habitats from Africa to Asia and here in South America. Back in the clear waters of Lake Malawi, there are more species of cichlids here than anywhere else on Earth. The water's visibility is also a reason they survive so successfully here. They are able to see potential mates, their offspring, and predators easily. This vast, beautiful lake that David Livingstone referred to as the Lake of Stars is a natural treasure with World Heritage Site status. Its freshwater biodiversity is unrivaled, and it supports not only the inhabitants of the lake, but the humans who live on its edge. This is a place worth protecting, especially for the extraordinary underwater inhabitants who rule this kingdom, the cichlids of Lake Malawi.